Bismillahi awwaluhu wa akhiru. We are discussing the subject of the Great War, in which we said weapons of mass destruction will be used as never before in history, and millions would die. That's the tip of the iceberg. There's much more to it than that. In the Quran, Allah speaks in Surah Al-Isra, and He says, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. I'm quoting the Quran for the first time. وَإِن مِّن قَرْيَةٍ إِلَّا نَحْنُ مُهْلِكُوهَا قَبْلَ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ قبل يوم القيامة. Did you hear that? قبل يوم القيامة أو معذبوها عذابا شديدا كان ذلك في الكتاب مسطورا. And there will not be a single town or city which will escape. The Quran is speaking about a great destruction of every town and every city. And it says, Allah will destroy them before Qiyamah. This is not an event which occurs at Qiyamah, the end of the world. This is an event which will occur before the end of the world. And those towns and cities which escape destruction would be punished with great punishment. No food. Food supplies are disrupted by nuclear war. No water. Water supplies are disrupted by the Great War. No energy. The electricity grid is no longer working. So those who are living in the remote countryside, they can survive. But the 10 and the 20 and the 30 million people living in the big cities that Dajjal has created, for them it's terrible, terrible, terrible punishment. And this will take place before Qiyamah. But Allah is a just God. Everything in this world is built on truth. And truth is founded on justice. So Allah will not destroy a people who do not deserve to be destroyed. So who are those who are at the top of the list who deserve to be destroyed? The answer for anyone who has even 5 rupiah, but 5 rupees worth of common sense and knowledge, is modern Western civilization. So the schoolboys can continue taking money from the CIA and taking weapons from the CIA to go and launch their bogus jihad in Syria, so that the new Ottoman Empire can expand and Syria will become a client state of Turkey. We're not fools. We have heads on our shoulders, and we can understand what you cannot. So ISIS will take money and take weapons, state-of-the-art weapons, to launch their bogus jihad, and to expand, to remove Assad. You can continue with your efforts, but we know that Allah will not punish a people who do not deserve to be punished. And those who deserve to be punished, most of all, is modern Western civilization and the CIA and all its wickedness all these years. And the clients of the CIA in our midst who support the CIA, like Saudi Arabia and like Erdogan in Turkey, support the CIA with all this massive intervention to topple the government of Syria. Allah is going to destroy them. They are the first on the list. سَنَفْرُغُ لَكُمْ أيها الثقلان. If you didn't know it before, Imran is telling you today. This is the top of the list for destruction. But those who have not, they have not been oppressors, they have been the oppressed. Why will Allah destroy them? So this war is coming. And we have said in this book, the Quran, the Great War and the West, that modern Western civilization will be crippled by this war. 300 years of rampaging through the world, bloody footprints on the face of the earth from the modern West will come to an end. Will come to an end. But then what? What kind of world will there be after the Great War, in which NATO and NATO's satraps will be waging war on Russia, modern Orthodox Christian Russia, which follows Jesus, and a China which is in alliance with Russia, a China which refuses to bend its knee in submission to those who are ruling the world today. Their plan is to provoke the big war for an easy reason to understand. They hope that in this great war, these two powers would mutually destroy each other. Do you understand? So there will be no more Western civilization after the war, no more NATO, but that Russia and China will also be will disappear as powers. That's their hope and plan. And when both this side and that side are mutually destroyed, the road will then be opened for Israel to replace the United States of America as a new ruling state in the world. And in the same way that Pax Americana replaced Pax Britannica, but the schoolboys don't know about that. All that they know is to criticize Imran Hosein, get lost. In the same way that Pax Americana replaced Pax Britannica, similarly, Pax Judaica will now replace Pax Americana. This is their planning. What is Allah's planning? This is what we need to explain and understand. How should Pakistan respond to the Great War? There is an ominous warning in the Quran. Don't go for guidance in someone who is getting dreams and visions. Don't go to the political analysis from the universities. Don't go from this one and that one and the other one to get guidance. Where do you look for guidance? Pakistan? Where? The answer, of course, is in the Book of Allah, the Quran. And if you don't have scholars who are capable of going to the Quran and locating in the Quran that which explains the great war that is coming, that's sad. But I'm sure you do have such scholars. Maybe you're not listening to them. So I'm here in Pakistan for the first time in many years to share with you, as gently as I can, an explanation of Pakistan and the Great War. Allah warns in the Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah will not change the condition of a people, regardless of how pitiful it may be, unless and until they take the initiative, using Allah's guidance in the Quran, to change their own condition. So if Pakistan is to prepare for the Great War, is it not simple to understand that your preparation for that Great War must commence from the Quran? Is that so difficult to understand? And if there are those who are offering an analysis based on the Quran, you should show respect for them and listen to them. If you do not do that, if you remain with your arms folded and you do nothing for the next 4 years, you do not go to the Quran for guidance. And when you go to the Quran for the guidance, the Quran tells you, follow him. This man who was sent to teach the Quran, Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah is telling you in the Quran, follow him, follow Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So not only do you have to look for guidance in the Quran, but you also must look for guidance in the Hadith, in the Sunnah, to the extent that it is in harmony with the Quran. Because the Quran is absolute truth, al-Haqqul Yaqeen. The Quran is absolute truth, al-Haqqul Yaqeen. And nothing else shares that status. So it should be elementary for you to understand. They will never understand it in the Darul Uloom. That's why I'm leaving them, I'm moving on. They will never understand it. But for you it's simple. Since this is absolute truth, and nothing else shares that status, the Quran must sit in judgment over the Hadith. If the Hadith speaks about al-Hind, for example, which is now a matter of importance for Pakistan in the context of a war which is coming, you do not simply accept the Hadith on al-Hind, or a war which they interpret as a war in which Pakistan will defeat India. Muslim Pakistan will defeat Hindu India, and Muslim Pakistan will then rule over Hindu India. If this is what it says, this is their interpretation. Of course, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, Hind was not India. Hind was this whole subcontinent. But never mind. That's their thinking. The Quran must sit in judgment over the Hadith. And when the Hadith is in harmony with the Quran, we accept it. But we have to check out the Hadith and do the intellectual work, the research work, to see whether or not the Hadith is in harmony with the Quran. That's not a work for schoolboys. No, no, no. And I'm inviting Pakistani scholars, inviting you to take a look at this Hadith about al-Hind, because it seems to have captured the imagination of many people, including scholars. And it is pivotally important. You have to address it. Is this Hadith in harmony with the Quran? That's the homework which has to be done. Now then, if a great war is coming, what are the implications for Pakistan? Thank Allah that Pakistan has not betrayed the Quran, and Pakistan is not a member of NATO. Thank Allah for that. Let the sheep and the cattle and the goats and the camels stay with NATO, but we are not a part of NATO, and we thank Allah for that. But I want to share with you my view that not only would the world of Islam not be participating in the Great War, only those satraps of the West will be joining in that war, not the rest of the world of Islam, confirming what the Prophet said, and whosoever joins with them belongs to them, not to us. وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Surah Al-Ma'idah. I therefore want to make this first statement. I do not anticipate the world of Islam participating in the Great War. It's a war between the West and Russia and China. And those who are supporters and clients of the West will be joining in the war. What is Pakistan's role? I am in Pakistan because I don't see the last shower of rain, scholarly rain, coming from Turkey, which is comfortably in NATO, and nobody is making an effort. Nobody is making an effort to condemn it. I don't see the last shower of rain coming from the Arab world, where the oppression is intense. No people are suffering more than our Arab brothers. Their governments are oppressing them. You have a beard, you're in trouble. Yes. The governments in the Arab world have become Pharaohs. And in Egypt, our people are suffering and groaning. Around the Arab world is happening. Perhaps there might be less oppression in Algeria, but oh yes, the people of Yemen are suffering. Oh yes, they've been suffering for 7 years now. And despite that, there are sheep and cattle and goats and camels who have respect for Saudi Arabia. The people of Syria have suffered immensely because of this bogus jihad, and yet they come to snipe at me. This bogus jihad. The people of Iraq have suffered so much. The people of Libya are suffering terribly. Around the world, our people are suffering, in the Arab world particularly. But we don't see Arab scholarship recognizing Gog and Magog. No. We don't see Arab scholarship recognizing that Gog and Magog are those who control power in the modern West. So that's why I'm here in Pakistan, because I believe that Pakistani Islamic scholarship, inshallah, will emerge, which will be the last shower of rain. And it will be therefore capable of explaining what would be the implications for Pakistan in the Great War. A great war in which Pakistan will not be intervening in the war on either side. And my answer is that in the same way that the First World War and the Second World War, in which millions died, they had to be waged by the West in order to bring about the transition from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana. So too I am explaining to you today my eschatological view that the great war which is coming is a war which is planned to make possible the transition from Pax Americana to Pax Judaica. And when that transition takes place, then Israel will replace the United States as the ruling state in the world. Is it possible that this would happen? Is it possible that Israel can replace the United States of America as the next ruling state in the world? Let's use money to check it out. Answer: they've already taken gold and silver out of the market, and they replaced it with bogus and fraudulent and utterly haram paper money. How many years ago? 100 years ago. And they moved from paper money to electronic money, to cryptocurrency, to bitcoins, to digital money, to the petrodollar. And they're now poised to bring one currency to mankind. And we say these cryptocurrencies are there to give a soft landing to that monetary system. And the one currency for all of mankind is around the corner. And who will control it? Israel. Do I need to continue to provide the evidence that they're well on the way to Pax Judaica? And I'm not just dreaming that this is solid analysis. The implication for Pakistan. of the Great War is that Israel wants to replace the United States as the next ruling state in the world. And when that happens, Pakistan is enemy number one in the world for Israel. How should Pakistan respond? And we've already quoted from Surah Al-Isra about the great destruction. And from Surah Al-Rahman, where Allah says that He's going to destroy them, the two people, سَنَفْرِغُ لَكُمْ أَيُّهَا الثَّقَلَانِ. But we don't have the time to go to Surah Al-Rahman. But do please go to my book, the Quran, the Great War, and the West for that analysis from Surah Al-Rahman. But in Surah Al-Mursalat of the Quran, we have a verse which is in harmony with the hadith of Tamim ad-Dari, which supports our analysis of the movement from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana to Pax Judaica, which comes from my scholarship in international relations. I studied international relations in 2 universities. In the hadith of Tamim ad-Dari, our Prophet spoke, alayhi salatu wasalam, and said, when Dajjal is released, he live on earth for 40 days, a day like a year, ek din jaise ek saal, jaise ek saal, a day like a year, a day like a month, a day like a week, wasairu ayyamihi ka ayyamikum, and all his days, meaning all the rest of his days, like your days. That's Sahih Muslim. So Dajjal has this trademark that he has 3 stages of his mission before he appears in person in our world of space and time. And the Quran now confirms this, but this is an ayah mutashabiha which has to be interpreted. And when you interpret the Quran, you must never do that for dividing the Muslims, because only Allah can confirm an interpretation of the Quran to be correct. But if you are correct in your interpretation of the Quran, your ta'wil, and that becomes truth, and truth will always survive. If you make a mistake, tomorrow it will be forgotten. And so here is Surah Al-Mursalat, in which Allah is giving warning after warning to the wicked people in Surah Al-Mursalat. And He says, Intaliku ila dhillin dhi salasi shu'ab. Proceed to a shadow. We should have 3 parts. And so Dajjal is referred to as a shadow during these 3 parts. And when the 3 parts have been completed, the shadow disappears and Dajjal appears in person. And so the Quran, our interpretation of the Quran, is confirming now that the movement from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana to Pax Judaica is preparatory for Dajjal to appear in person in Jerusalem and to declare, I am the Messiah. But he can't do that unless Israel becomes the ruling state in the world. And the ruling state in the world is a state which cannot be threatened by any rival or any combination of rivals. And that is where Pakistan poses a problem. So the Zionists would say to you, for us, the greatest danger comes from Pakistan. That's what the Zionist will say. Because he realizes that the Great War is meant to destroy mutual destruction. And in the post-Great World War, Pakistan is the greatest threat. Why? Not only because the Pakistani people will never submit to Israel. You wouldn't find Pakistan at this time ever joining NATO. not Pakistan. You find that in Turkey, but not Pakistan. That's why I'm in Pakistan. Pakistan is not going to enter NATO, join NATO. Pakistan is now moving away from Washington. After the leaders of Pakistan have betrayed the truth for how many years, finally a leader has come to Pakistan who has said, we will not fight America's wars for America anymore. Yes. Thank Allah that age of darkness is now going, when this country was a chamcha of the United States. Chamcha of the United States. No, Pakistan is now correcting itself. And the Pakistani people are not only showing this backbone of resistance to Western oppression, to the Western oppressor, and to Israel, but more than that, Pakistan has become a nuclear power. And the Pakistani nuclear weapons have the capacity to reach Israel. Oh yes, I won't tell you how. I know that. I won't share that with you. The Pakistani nuclear weapons have the capacity to reach Israel. And so, what will happen to Pakistan in the Great War? This is my analysis, and you must never accept my view unless you are convinced that I am correct, because I am a man who makes mistakes. And I have to correct my mistake. Alhamdulillah, that once I recognize I've made a mistake, I hurry to correct myself. I don't hide it. I believe that Israel has already planned it. That as soon as the Great War begins, Israel will launch an attack on Pakistan. And Israel will have the support of Modi's India, not India, Modi's India, and the support of NATO. NATO will be back again in Afghanistan, and Modi on the right side in India, and Israel from the sky. And the purpose of the attack on Pakistan would be to denuclearize Pakistan. If I am wrong, tell me what's right. This is not fantasy land. This is mature analysis. I have come to my conclusions. I'm almost 82 years of age by the moon, and soon to reach 80 by the sun. So at this age, and after traveling extensively and studying, and Allah blessed me with great, great, great teachers. Oh yes, great teachers. And I have come to the conclusion that they will attack Pakistan at that time. Number one, to denuclearize Pakistan. But number two, which I have not shared with you previously, maybe 10, 20 years ago I must have said it, that when they denuclearize Pakistan, if they succeed, we cannot risk Pakistan rising up again. Because if you attack Pakistan, the Pakistani people are going to be mad at you. The Pakistani people are saying, we don't mind if we have to eat dal and roti. But every single Pakistani is going to come after you now. That's this nation. And it's not just Pakistani Muslims. It's all Pakistanis. Because the Christian and the Muslim will be brothers in Akhiru Zaman. Not those Christians who belong to Bandarabad. That's another subject. Or what about Pakistan and the Hindu? And in preparation for that great war. Number one, they want to denuclearize Pakistan. But number two, their plan is to break up Pakistan into bits and pieces. As they did previously, in that war which East Pakistan broke away. And so Pakistan has a danger that they will break it up into bits and pieces so that it cannot rise again. And if they succeed with that, only then can Pax Judaica be established. Pax Judaica, no Jew will accept Dajjal when he declares that I am the Messiah if Pakistan still has nuclear weapons. No. So what should Pakistan do to prepare for that war? I am not going to disclose in this video. I will not disclose all the things that Pakistan should do, because some of it I can share only privately. Only privately. But I can give the contours without the specifics of what Pakistan should do. Number one, in the same way that Pakistan has built a solid alliance with China, similarly Pakistan must do the same thing with Russia. And I don't think I have to convince the Pakistani people of that, because they already understand that. There will be no people opposing this view. What do you need to do in order to establish an alliance with Russia? Well, you have to stop sitting on the fence. Iran has consistently followed a better foreign policy than Pakistan. And so Islamabad, is time for you to wake up and have a foreign policy that is plain and clear and transparent like Iran's. Imam Khomeini pointed to Washington and he said, "You are Shaitan al-Kabir, the great Satan." So Iran is not sitting on the fence. No. And from that day to this day, Iran has consistently built a solid relationship with Russia, while Pakistan remains sitting on the fence. I don't need to speak further on that, because you know the truth. So you have to build a strong relationship with Russia, and there are things you have to do which I'm not going to disclose in public. But secondly, you have to ensure that that warmongering government in India, not every Indian government has been like this Modi government, that warmongering government in India does not have the next 4 years to continue brainwashing the masses of India with anti-Pakistan venom. You have to devise a strategy in which you'll be able to penetrate the masses of India and to show and explain to the Indian people that no, Pakistan is not an enemy. What should you do? How can you pursue such a strategy? Again, it's not appropriate for me to speak publicly on what can be done, but this is a major policy requirement. Not just Russia, but also India. You cannot sit down doing nothing with your hands folded, as you've done for 70 years, apart from a brief period of President Zia-ul-Haq, which is cricket diplomacy. And then the third thing that Pakistan needs to do before we end is that you have to declare plainly and clearly that this country recognizes absolute truth to be located in the Quran. No one can dispute that. So what is the problem? Why can't you proclaim it? Proclaim it in Parliament, that this country recognizes absolute truth to be located in the Quran. And the Hadith, it supports the Quran to the extent that the Hadith is in harmony with Quran. The Sunnah supports the Quran to the extent that the Sunnah is in harmony with the Quran. And this country pledges itself to seek to ensure that the conduct of state would always be in conformity with truth in the Quran and with the guidance that's located in the Quran. We know, Pakistan should say, we know that we are not doing that now. But we pledge ourselves to make an effort to remain faithful to the Book of Allah. Even the secular Pakistanis would not have a problem with that. When you make that pledge, then be sincere with it. And then recognize where are the areas where you have betrayed the Quran. And then one by one you try. Not overnight, no. In a very carefully prepared way, step by step, not rushing. You try to correct your mistakes so that you can live a life, the country would have the conduct of state of Pakistan would be in harmony with the Quran and not in conflict with the Quran. I wish I could be more specific, but it would be counterproductive if I were to give all the details. I prefer to do that in private. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may grant that from this land may emerge a people who remain faithful to Him. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.